Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the first of this week's WARNO dev blogs. And yes, you may be able to tell from my voice, I'm a little bit better than I was, though I wish the coughing would stop at this point. So today it is time for the 5th NORTHAG Division, and it is of course the British 4th Armoured. And yes, before you ask, their logo is indeed a top-down view of a pork pie, with a section cut out. And if you try to tell me differently, I simply won't believe you. So the 4th Armoured Division has a very long and illustrious military history, being involved in such conflicts and engagements as the Peninsular War, the Battle of Waterloo, the Crimean Wars, the Boer Wars, World War I, and of course World War II. For the longest time, and nowadays as well, it was known as either the 4th Division or the 4th Infantry Division. After finishing World War II in Greece, the formation redeployed to West Germany, where it was formed as part of the British Army of the Rhine during the Cold War. A series of rather convoluted reorganizations saw the birth of the 4th Armoured Division in the late 1970s. Further restructuring included a short-lived experiment with a task force concept before the 4th Armoured emerged as a brigade structure, as we depict it in WARNO in the 1980s. The next subheading is the 4th Armoured Division in the British Army of the Rhine. So in 1989, the 1st British Corps commanded 4 divisions in West Germany. The frontline formations were the 1st Armoured, already in the game, the 4th Armoured Division, the 3rd Armoured Division in Army General only, which was kept in reserve and close to the Belgians, ready to support them with an armoured brigade if the need was to arise. Spoiler, they did. Furthermore, the 2nd Infantry Division, also playable already, would be brought in quickly from the United Kingdom to reinforce the BAOR in the field. Eugene have included a nice map here, and I am putting it up because it's from a book which is quite old, and you only seem to be able to get it second hand now. It's like June 1989, so I think under terms of fair use we can post it now that I've mentioned the book. Anyhow, with the 1st Armoured being the strongest and best equipped, with 2 armoured brigades and 1 mechanised infantry, the 4th Armoured and 3rd Armoured were armoured in quotation marks in name only. They could only be more accurately referred to as mechanised infantry divisions, both fielding 1 armoured brigade and 2 infantry ones. In true British fashion, even these 2 formations didn't have the same T or an E. As a matter of fact, all 4 divisions in West Germany had their own organisation and equipment. The 3rd Armoured was the closest to the 1st Armoured, with roughly the same material, but with the ratio between mechanised infantry and tanks flipped. Meanwhile, the 4th Armoured deployed 1 armoured, 1 mechanised brigade in West Germany, but in times of war would reinforce the formation in the field with additional wheeled infantry brigades. So the British 4th Armoured Division detailed. The first and biggest difference between WARNO's 1st Armoured and the 4th Armoured Division is the new formation's arsenal of tanks. The 4th Armoured has fewer tanks and importantly never fielded the Challenger, only the older generation Chieftain main battle tank. Taking a look at its infantry combat force, the 4th clearly had more, but there is another caveat: the lack of warrior IFVs. Instead, the formation's mechanised battalions ride all sorts of FV-432 APCs into battle, and it got an even wider array of infantry at its disposal, with access to both motorised infantry in light but fast Saxon APCs and territorial soldiers in trucks. So what exactly can you expect from the 4th Armoured Division in NORTHAG? Well, logistics will be a decent category, filled with quite a few options, though quickly becoming expensive. Supply units featured are of course a FOB, the Stolly light amphibious, and the new AEC Militant Mark III heavy supply truck. You'll also be able to deploy the Chinook HC-1 supply. Command units include the FV-532 Command, the FV-105 Sultan, and the Saxon Command. The infantry tab is obviously going to be pretty generous. The 4th Armoured Division has access to good infantry, with units such as the rifle squads in the FV-432, the motor rifles in the Saxon, APC, Terriers in Bedford trucks, and assault pioneers. Support weapon teams are available as the Wombat, the Milan 1, the Milan 2, the MAG heavy machine gun, the RMP, and the gun group squads. While the division can't count on IFVs, it does have access to more varied APC transport variants, such as the new FV-432 SCAT with a double anti-aircraft MG. That one is for the combat engineers, and the new FV-432 Wombat for recoilless rifle teams. Not the most exciting of APCs, let's be fair. When it comes to artillery, they say there's a healthy amount of artillery supporting arms that can rain down fire from afar. You'll get to play around with the L16 81mm and L212 155mm howitzer as towed pieces, and self-propelled artillery guns include the FV432 mortar, the FV433 Abbott, and the M107A2 175mm. Okay, so what about the tank tab? Technically it is called an armoured division, even though it's probably more of a motorised rifle division. So now we're talking about the good stuff, they say, though most of the options are older generation tanks. The 4th Armoured Division relies mostly on the Chieftain Mark 9 and the Chieftain Mark 11 tanks, plus Command variant. It will also field older and inexpensive Chieftain Mark 6/2, which is new to the game. This is much cheaper than the Mark 9, but with less range and penetration. Some ATGM carriers are the F438 Swingfire and the FV102 Striker. Attached to the British Tank Division is one Royal Engineered Armour Squadron with the new Centurion Mark 12 AVRE 105, which is an old Centurion upgunned to 105mm, but only firing heat rounds, and it's also going to be very cheap. The other engineered tank is the new Centurion Mark 5 AVRE Romor, which is similar to the current AVRE unit, but with additional ERA armour. What about the Recon tab? Well, it is plentiful. The units will include the Ferret Mark II and the Fox armoured cars, the Scorpion and Scimitar light tanks, light scouts, heavy and new motorised scouts coming in as Saxon, and a sniper recon team, plus the new Gazelle AH-1 rocket and the Lynx AH-7 Chancellor recon helicopter. The latter is equipped with radar. Anti-air tab is pretty decent with the usual mix of manpads, Javelin and Javelin LML specifically, and self-propelled SAMs being the tracked Rapier. 2 towed units are also available, the Rapier FSA and the new Rapier FS2B Darkfire with more missiles at the ready. Helicopter tab, well, it's not a very stellar category with only a few slots and options. They are cheap though. There will be a handful of Lynx AH-1s and the AH-7 Hellarm. What about the air tab then? Well, much like the division's rotorcraft department, the air tab is also not very high flying. There are a few options with few slots. However, once again, it's at least pretty cheap. The aircraft featured are the Jaguar GR1 bombers in rocket and cluster roles, plus the latest and new unit, the Jaguar GR1A, with self-defense missiles moved over wing rather than under. This leaves more space on the pylons for the bombs. There will also be the Phantom F3 in an AA role, while another new unit will be the Phantom FRG-2 multi-role fighter in both heavy HE and mixed HE cluster role. The latter loadout, with the mixed bomb loads, air-to-air missiles and a gun pod, is our successful testbed for 4 weapon slot aircraft. We mentioned this before, but it took a little longer for us to get the extra weapon slot mechanic off the ground compared to the 4 weapon slot loadouts for infantry and ground vehicles. The 4th Armoured Division can be considered a missing link between the very light 2nd Infantry Division and the heavy guns of the 1st Armoured, best described as a mechanised infantry division. It has numerous tanks with a wide range of mechanised infantry, but it doesn't have any of the most state-of-the-art vehicle models, as well as lacking substantial helicopter and air support. So it's definitely going to be strong in some areas, but definitely has some major weak points in my opinion. That is everything for this dev blog. Later in the week we will be getting the Polish 4th Mechanized Infantry Division. I am not even going to try and pronounce the Polish name. I don't speak any Polish. If anyone would like to tell me in the comments sort of phonetically how to say that out, please do let me know. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all soon.